All right, welcome to ART244. My name is James Fritz. I'm the full-time art instructor here at the college. And hey, it's Emily. She's got her microphone open. I could hear you. All right, no problem, Bob. All right. Um, Welcome back to winter quarter in the middle of the damn pandemic. And so bronze casting. I have not taught bronze casting since last winter because of the pandemic. Last March was the last time we did any bronze casting in this place. And spring quarter, it all got shut down because of the pandemic. Fall quarter, it was kind of shut down because we couldn't do anything face to face. And so here we are, winter quarter. And we really can't do anything face to face either because of the pandemic. So we're going to try to do this class as a hybrid class. So what I'm going to try to do is get you guys all the tools and materials to make your wax sculptures for the bronze casting process at home. I'm going to make up little boxes of materials and tools. And when I get all my little boxes made up with the tools and materials, I'm going to ask you guys to come in here and pick one up. And actually, if you know Eden Hall at all, I'm sitting in Eden 7 right now. And on the west side of Eden Hall, it's kind of right next to Sitcom Hall here on campus. I have a side door on Eden Hall. And so outside of that side door, I have a little patio. It's a porch that's covered with a piece of roof, and so it's dry. And I've got a 4 by 8 foot table sitting out there, an 8 foot long table, and that's what I can put stuff out on for you guys to come and pick up. So when I get all of the bronze casting kits put together, I'm going to announce it for you guys and ask you guys to come on over and pick up a bronze casting kit and take it back home. And then you will have your own personal set of tools and materials like wax and stuff to sculpt with for making a small sculpture or 2 or even possibly 3 for the bronze casting process. So tonight I'm going to try to go through what would have been like, going over the syllabus with you guys and, go through the class list and see who's all here and stuff like that. And I'm going to probably show you some examples of bronze cast sculpture tonight for you to start thinking about. This is the one class that we do in the art department where everybody can pick their own project, and everybody's project is going to be different based on your interests, your aesthetic, what you think is beautiful and what you might think is artistic, and what you think you can sculpt in something like the next 5 or 6 weeks, because that's what we've got to work with. Usually in a 10-week quarter, I take the first half of the quarter and we do the sculpting part, where we are sculpting and we're modeling wax on a smallish scale to make the bronze casting process. Let's see, I heard a voice, so I just wanted to see. Donovan, did you have a question? No, okay. I don't mind. You guys can interrupt me and ask questions whenever you want to, and I will respond. I've got the participants list open, and I can see all the microphones that are muted next to all of your names, and so I'm happy to answer questions or have a dialogue whenever we want. We're going to be making small sculptures in wax, and then after about 5 or 6 weeks, we're going to take them through the lost wax casting process to make them into bronze, into metal bronze sculptures. So more about that in a minute. But as people get in here, I'm going to see who's all here. So I've got my printout here, and I'm going to start at the top of my participants list here. Oh man, okay. There's so many people. Hunter Fossler just walked in the door. So let me see. I got him right here. Hunter Fossler. Audrey. Audrey's last name is what? Who knows? Page 2.
Gill.
What's that?
Gill.
No, you're not. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are Audrey Gill right there. Hunter, Cassie, Cassifer, right there. All right, fantastic. CJ Belisle is right up there. Okay. Donovan, Mr. Bosch is here, and Emily. Hello, Emily. I remember when you asked me for a letter of recommendation and I was just snowed under and I couldn't get to it. If you can still use a letter of recommendation, I'm still happy to write you one. So we will have that conversation in due time, okay? Okay, Hunter Van Curler. Oh my God, not you again. All right, and Jordan Crawford is here. And Cameron S. Okay, who is that? Gotta find that person in my list. Cameron, hey, there we go. Okay, got it. Matthew Current would be under C, right? Right. Okay, fantastic. And God, you guys are jumping around on my list here. So Matthew, then PC Fugate. Oh my God. Are you here? Yes, you might be here. So that's good. And Zach Warner, page 2. All right. That's everybody I got on my list, unless somebody walked in the front door while I wasn't here. Hunter, Fossler, you got your microphone open. Did you want to ask me something?
No, I just want to tell you my last name's Fossler. That's how I pronounce it. Yeah.
Fossler, got it. Thank you. Okay, I'll make that thing. Ms. Fugate, did you want to ask me something? Or just say hi and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year? Okay, this is cool.
Miss, you're muted.
I'm muted?
No.
No, I muted. I muted by accident. Yeah, I have questions.
Oh God.
We have to melt the wax, right?
All right. Actually, I'll walk us through the bronze casting process because it's like God, it's like a 12-step. It's like a 12-step process. It's like getting off drugs or alcohol. It's a complicated process. So
I was asking because somewhere I have a little crock pot and that can be used, can't it?
Well, yeah. When we talk about the lost wax process, what we are doing is we are sculpting in wax. Wax is going to be our sculpture material that we're going to work with. We're going to use wax just like we use clay in a regular sculpture class, where we take the little bits of wax and we'll jam them together and work it and refine the forms and everything like that and make it look like something, like a little bunny rabbit or a little frog, or perhaps a human being, a figure, something like that. And that's what I do. I'm a figurative sculptor. And so here, let's take a little bronze casting that I have right here and talk about it a little bit. This is something that it's so dusty. This is something I made in graduate school, probably 35 years ago. And so, there's a little bit of distortion because of the camera angle and everything, but this thing is about, I want to say 14 inches tall, maybe 14 to 16 inches tall. Let's just grab a ruler. Yeah, it's about 14 inches tall because this is a 12-inch ruler right here. So this would be considered a very large piece, actually, by our standards, because I have a very small foundry and I have a very small ability to make stuff. Boy, that looks weird with me with just my mouth talking. So I'm going to come back up to me again. So what I did here originally was taking little tiny bits of wax and warming up the wax so that it was soft and pliable so that I could model with it, just like modeling clay. I joined the little bits of wax together in an additive process to slowly build up form from a very rudimentary kernel beginning. and build and refine form to make this human figure. Now, I'm a sculptor. My Master's of Fine Arts degree is in sculpture and it's in bronze casting. So this class is doing the thing that I do best. And the thing that, you know, I'm most comfortable in, you know, I live and breathe sculpture and bronze casting. And so I can walk us through this process. And although tonight I didn't have any wax with me. So today has been just one disaster after another. ART244 did not get loaded into my Laker link as a class. And so when you guys go into your e-learning shell for all of your classes in my Laker link, you probably have not been able to find ART244 because it wasn't there. And I'm trying to get it fixed. A lot of glitches happened today as we went live on the first day of the quarter. And so that's why I had to push out a quick email to you guys with this Zoom meeting on it so that we could get together and at least start the process. So I did not put a whole bunch of stuff into an e-learning shell yet for us, like our syllabus and other resources and links to things. So I wanted to share a little bit of that stuff tonight just with sharing the screen. So let's do a screen share. And I've got two things kind of teed up for us to look at tonight with a screen share. So I'm going to go to my screen share, and if it'll let me, because it's supposed to let me, right? There we go. And I got small bronze sculpture, and I got this screen. I'm going to go to this screen first. So here we go. So I'm sharing this screen, and actually I want to go to this one first, and I want to play this 2-minute long video. This video is on YouTube, and there are hundreds of YouTube videos that are about bronze casting. This one was pretty stupid, but it was pretty much what we do at our foundry here. So let's look at the bronze casting process first. Can you guys hear me talking over this thing?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thanks. So this is a foundry furnace and it's melting bronze. And the foundry technician is loading the bronze into the foundry furnace, into the crucible. It's very hot work. You use long-handled tools to handle the bronze. Now they're going to go over to a kiln and pull out a whole bunch of ceramic shell molds. This is where the lost wax process happened. These molds contained wax. These molds contained the wax sculptures. And then they were burned out in a kiln. And now the molds are empty and ready to have bronze poured into the molds. So the hot molds are coming out of the kiln, and then the hot bronze is coming out of the furnace. The hot bronze is in a crucible, and it's being placed into something that we call a pouring shank. You pick up the pouring shank and pour the bronze into the molds. And the bronze goes into the cavity where the wax was melted out. And that's why we call it a lost wax process, because the wax has been melted out of the mold first, and then the bronze gets poured into the empty mold. And this is a little bronze sculpture, a happy little bronze sculpture. And I just got to hit the stop button for a minute. So I'm going to come back to you guys for just a second. So there's my big full face again. So could you guys hear me talking over that video and sort of explaining it? Okay, So that was the scary, exciting part of bronze casting that we usually do in about week 7 or week 8 of the quarter. After we've done all the boring stuff, which is sculpt our sculpture for like 5 weeks to try to refine the sculpture and make it that looks like something. And then I have to kind of push the process through the mold making process and then the de-waxing or burnout process, where I actually load the molds that have been made around your sculptures. I load those molds into a kiln, and then I fire the kiln up to 1600 degrees Fahrenheit, and it burns out all of the wax out of the mold. So your sculpture is inside of a mold, and then your sculpture gets destroyed. It gets completely burned out of the mold because we need an empty mold to be able to pour the bronze into. And that's why it's called lost wax, because the wax is lost out of the mold, and then we pour the bronze into the mold. And then once the bronze is in the mold and the mold cools, we take a hammer and we break off all of the mold material around the bronze casting, and we are left with a cast bronze sculpture. And then we take this thing and we grind on it with grinders, polish it. We use files and sandpaper, hammers and chisels to clean up the bronze casting as good as we can, or as much as we want to get it to a finish surface that we're happy with. And then that's going to become the bronze sculpture. This happens to be a little kind of abstract Eiffel Tower that one of my students made, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. And unfortunately, like so many pieces, this piece, they didn't pay for it at the end of the quarter. And so they didn't get to take it home with them. They had to leave it with me, but I've kept it as a demonstration piece so that I could show you something that's really cool. There's a question in the chat. Are we able to use tin foil as a filler? Or as a filler base to build the wax over, or do we have to leave this just 100% wax? Probably just 100% wax for this class. I'm going to show you the process, and like I said, it's a little complicated, so I'll be able to illustrate that better perhaps on Wednesday night when I'm going to demonstrate some actual wax sculpting. I'm not going to get into wax sculpting tonight. I just wanted to kind of do some real broad overview about what's possible in sculpture for bronze casting. So this is made out of bronze now. This was wax. In fact, this was made out of thin wax sheets and just joined together at the corners, at the edges to make a hollow casting that, and this was just a brilliant approach to a bronze sculpture. And I love the fact that it's, you know, you guys have seen the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and it's all made out of a lattice work of iron, and, you know, iron girders, and, you know, it's iron, and it's 150 years old or something. And it's, a lot of people think that the Eiffel Tower, a lot of Parisians think that the Eiffel Tower is really ugly. This is actually quite an elegant rendering of the Eiffel Tower in a kind of a modernist and abstract kind of a way, which is really nice. I like that. You're probably looking at this piece over here and saying, wow, isn't that a cool bronze sculpture? How did he make that? But this actually is not a bronze sculpture. This is a fake bronze sculpture. This is something that we made in the sculpture class last quarter. And this is a found object sculpture where we went dumpster diving and we found lots of pieces of this and that, lots of plastic toys, plywood, all kinds of stuff. This came from a thrift shop, and all of this stuff got screwed together and glued together and everything. These are all Barbie doll legs. In fact, these are bendable Barbie doll legs, and all got kind of super glued together. But I spray painted this to look like bronze. I spray painted it black first, and then with just the smallest little bit of gold paint that was still left in a rattle can, I did a little bit of rattle can gold over the top of it. And so this has a fake or faux bronze kind of patina look to it. The pig right here, this is a plastic pig, plastic toy pig. This doorknob over here, this is a real brass doorknob. So that's the only bronze thing that's on here is the doorknob, which is kind of cool. But this is possible actually as a bronze casting, but this would be a lot of work because you got to cast all of these pieces kind of separately and then probably weld them all together. This is a little baby doll kind of rubber plastic doll piece up here. And then I found a cat's skull in my garden about 10 years ago. And so then I super glued the cat's skull onto the body of the little baby doll thing for something that's rather grotesque and scary and wonderful in its scary grotesqueness. So this is related to bronze casting, but this is not bronze. Okay. Something that students do an awful lot in this class is something like this snake right here. This is bronze. And so the student carefully and over 5 weeks was sculpting this bronze snake out of wax. And so originally this thing was all in wax. And then once the wax sculpture was completed, he gave it to me. And then I put a mold material around it so that it had about a 1/2 inch thick, very solid mold material around the wax, and then burned it out in a kiln. And then the wax went away. And all that was left was the mold with this snake-shaped hole on the inside of it. And that was the thing that I poured the bronze into to make the bronze snake sculpture. Once the bronze cooled inside the mold, again, we break the mold off with a hammer, and the mold is a single-use mold. It falls away when we're done, and what you're left with is a rough casting in bronze of your original wax sculpture. And then we have to grind and polish this thing. And then the final thing that's available to you is to apply a chemical patina to the surface of this thing that gives it kind of an antique look. And so this is a green patina that's been applied to this sculpture to give it kind of the look of, an ancient bronze that was kind of lost and either has been in the ocean for 2,000 years or been, in a farmer's field and just got dug out of the ground. That kind of oxidation happens on the surface of the bronze naturally and creates this antique patina finish on there. We know how to oxidize the surface of the bronze artificially with different kinds of oxidants, and so we can create these kinds of patinas as a final thing. So you can color the surface of your bronze as a final way of finishing off your sculpture, or, and a lot of people are opting to do this, you can just polish up the surface of the bronze and leave it shiny, because in this postmodern age, a lot of people like the actual look of the bronze. They like the truth to materials that the shiny bronze gives you. And once you polish up the surface of the bronze, we then spray a clear acrylic coating over the top of this thing to seal it off from the air so that it stays shiny and so that it doesn't just patina itself, especially in this marine climate, this marine atmosphere that we have here by the sea. An uncoated piece of bronze would naturally turn green over the course of 3 to 10 years. So we do want to coat a polished surface of bronze to keep it shiny and to keep it gold colored. Let's see. Okay, smooth is a texture. We have an inside joke, don't we? We have an inside joke. Yes, smooth is a texture. And so, yes, I'm going to encourage people to explore textures as part of their sculpting process. But then we'll also stipulate for the jury, for the sake of the court, that Smooth is a texture too. Thank you, Paula. Okay, let me do another screen share with you guys. I'll try to make this one quicker. Let's see, that was the bronze pour. What else have I got? This must be it. Okay, so I also want to encourage you guys to just do a Google image search. And so I have gone to Google. I typed in the search terms small bronze sculpture, and I hit search. And then I also hit images, so that all I got was a whole bunch of images on a page that I could scroll down through. And most of this small bronze sculpture is commercially available, and it's for sale. And it's being offered by all kinds of different places, from reputable galleries and not so reputable galleries, and the artists themselves, and anybody else who wants to huckster and hustle and hawk art to try to make a buck on art. It's a brave new world out there in the world of art. Now that everybody can advertise on the internet, art galleries are not as special as they used to be. And Europeans and Americans are not as special as they used to be, because especially in bronze casting, the Chinese and lots of other countries around the Pacific Rim are making lots and lots of bronze sculpture and selling it online internationally to people, because people really want to have bronze, but they don't want to pay the price that is commanded by sculptors, in the first world, in New York City, in Paris, in London. So we have a lot of knockoffs, and we have a lot of bronze sculpture. But you're going to be able to search for things in bronze with different search terms that might satisfy you. So this is just small bronze sculpture in general. And so let's just kind of click on stuff and take a look at it. Here's some horses running. I'm going to click on that. We're going to go to Lamps Plus. Okay, and so here it is for $59.99. You can get an 8-inch tall wild horse statue. So this probably isn't actually bronze. This is probably like cast plastic or something that has a bronze faux finish on it. But for $60, you could order this thing, and then you could get running horses that kind of look like a bronze sculpture, and that would be fantastic. How do I get out of here? I guess I have to just turn that off. So I'm going to kind of scroll down here a little bit. A lot of this stuff, here's something from Alibaba.com. So, here's this lion, and it's eating what? It's eating some snakes, actually. So there's some snakes, and there's the lion, and that's really nice. So that kind of thing is possible, especially in a small format. I do not expect any of you guys to be able to sculpt something like this in 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, because this takes a lot of training, a lot of experience. To make something that's realistic and naturalistic is something that you would be doing after years of practice and experience. So don't worry about trying to make something as elaborate as this. But these are nice things to look at so that we can get some ideas. I'm going to go over here to this one, and I blinked on it. I'm going to click on it to see if I can make it bigger. Can I make it bigger? I can't make it bigger. I can make it bigger. Okay, so here is an abstract kneeling human figure. This bronze piece, and this is a really nice size and everything. If this is about 3 or 4 inches tall, this is perfect for what we do. And so some of you would look at this and say, well, that person doesn't know how to sculpt because we don't have the correct forms and proportions for a naturalistic representational human figure. But this is an abstraction of a human figure. And we have to, understand that some artists are more interested in the essential qualities of the human figure and not in trying to make a replica of a model or of a particular person. And they're trying to get across something that's a lot more universal in terms of what they're interested in conveying to the art public. And so this is the kind of thing that you could do in 5 weeks in this class. This is a happy little bronze sculpture. It has a smooth texture to make Paula happy. And, you know, it's really kind of nice. Yes, the thighs are a little bit larger than the proportions of the torso. Even the arms perhaps are a little bit larger than the proportions of the torso. So the artist is playing a little bit with proportions. The torso is long, elongated, and thin. The muscles in the upper arms and forearms are showing a little bit more in terms of muscular energy, and that same kind of muscular energy is being expressed in the thighs. And so, you know, it's a thing that's about life force. You know, it's not necessarily you know whatever our contemporary ideal of beauty might be, but this is an artistic ideal of beauty instead. So I'll get out of here and I'll go someplace else. So I'm going to take this off. Oh, look at that. What's that? It's a mouse. Where's the mouse? Here's the mouse. Let's go down here and look at this mouse. So this is exactly the kind of thing that can be done in this class. A small rodent, a small figure that is something that might be, you know, somewhat abstracted from reality, yet realistic enough so that you can tell what it is. It's really nice that it kind of is cantilevered off of the back end of this base element that's kind of built into the sculpture. The tail comes around the back side of the base element and curls up here to kind of help to bring the tail into the composition itself and keep everything really nice and compact and everything. The mouse being cantilevered back here on one edge of this round disc-shaped base element comes forward and then occupies, you know, the entirety of the space over the top of the base element. This is probably only 3 inches high. You know, this sculpture is maybe 3 inches, possibly 4 inches high, but it's no bigger than your clenched fist. And this is the kind of thing we can do in our class. Now, I do need to tell you that you do have to pay for the bronze in your sculptures. I'm going to try to supply everything else in terms of materials for this class that your lab fee is paying for. So all of the wax and all of the consumable items that we're going to use to make the molds and everything else is going to be paid for by your lab fee. But the actual bronze that you use in your sculptures is going to be something that I have to charge you $8 a pound for the finished bronze sculpture. So we'll want to keep that in mind, because I'm going to take your sculpture at the end of the quarter, and once it's cast in bronze and it's all finished up, I'm going to put it on a scale and weigh it. And then I have to multiply that by $8 a pound. So something like this could weigh 3 pounds times $8, and that would be a $24 casting fee that you'd have to pay me for the bronze that's in the sculpture. So then you pay me the $24, you write a check out to SWAC or bring cash in and I'll make the deposit for you to SWAC, and you get to take home the bronze sculpture. And if you don't pay for the bronze, you don't get to take home the sculpture. So that's how that works. I'm going to click out of this and just go down here and see if I can find something that's not figurative. Is there anything here that's more abstract? A lot of you guys like horses, deer, elk are big, interesting things. I'm going to get off of that. So this is a somewhat abstracted horse sculpture, and this could definitely be something you could do, especially if you kept it down to about a height of 6 inches or so and a length of about 8 inches. This would probably come in at around 4 or 5 pounds. At 5 pounds times $8 a pound, this would be a $40 sculpture to make if it was about 6 inches high by about 8 inches long. So if you have an interest in horses, especially something that's a little bit on the loosey-goosey abstract side, that would be fantastic. Here's an abstract bronze sculpture right here. So what is this? This looks like a sandwich. This looks like a a hot dog bun that is kind of folded around on itself. And this abstract bronze sculpture celebrates the idea of folded, malleable material like bread, and just talks about the idea that you could bend something around on itself and would create all of these wonderful folds in the middle. And that's what the sculpture is about. It is an abstract thing that just deals with form, non-representational, non-objective form. And if you did something that was like this, that might be 3 or 4 inches tall, that would be perfectly fine as a sculpture. I'd really like you to consider carefully refining the form so that it makes some kind of a simple, logical expression of an idea like this does, where this is really smooth on the outside, and then where the two edges kind of fold together and creates all of these little folds on one side of it. That's the interesting part. That's the part that has all of the visual interest and the focal point of the sculpture. So the sculptor did consider what they were doing kind of carefully to create that abstract sculpture. Let's see, I've been going for about 40 minutes yet, so I'm going to come back to you guys. I'm going to hit the stop share screen button and come back to you guys. This is ART244. It's a 200 level art class. It kind of assumes that you've taken an art class before, at least a couple of 100 level art classes, like a sculpture class or a drawing class or something like that, or that you've had a lot of art classes in high school, so that this is not your first rodeo. Hopefully this is not the first time you've ever tried to do sculpture. Yet I offer this class at a community college that has no prerequisites for things like this. And so even if you have never touched sculpture before and have no experience doing anything in sculpture, you can still take this class. You can get an A in it, but you will have to work at it because it's quite difficult to make a sculpture in 5 weeks and then take it through the bronze casting process and then grind and polish and get it done in 10 weeks. But it is possible, even for somebody who's never done this before. I will help you through the process. I will stand by you every step of the way. I will demonstrate all the processes for you. If you are afraid of power tools or are dangerous around power tools, I will facilitate the use of power tools in the finishing, at least some of the heavy duty finishing of your sculpture, to get it from a rough casting into something that's a little bit more refined as a bronze casting. But this is the bronze casting process. We are going to be working on stuff. Oh, here's an abstract sculpture over here. I kept this one, let's see, because it is dark, I'm going to put it over here in front of this. So this is a non-objective, non-representational sculpture that this guy was playing around with for many weeks, and he thought it was stupid, and he thought it was just a bunch of turds that were kind of relating to each other in space. And you know what? It is a lovely kind of little elegant sculpture. It springs off of the base element down here with this kind of columnar piece down below. It has a place in the middle that sort of works like a window that creates a negative space in the middle, plus defining the outer shape and the outer space of it in terms of this kind of rectangular form. It's got these two little interior kind of protrusions, a smaller one on this one side and this little bit larger one over on this side, and they kind of reach out towards each other, activating the central space of the sculpture. Now, he didn't even know all this stuff when he was making this thing. He just was throwing and making and, squishing wax and kind of threw it together. But I worked with him to talk about what was going on and to try to give some voice and some verbiage and some words to what was going on. And this actually became a really nice abstract sculpture. again, couldn't pay for it, and so abandoned it and left it behind. But it now gives me a lovely little abstract sculpture that's about the size of my hand. It's about 6 inches tall, and it weighs about 2 pounds. And so this would be about a $16 piece to cast in bronze in this class. And the bronze would cost you about $16 or so. You know what? I need to take a breath. Does anybody have any questions? Please go ahead and unmute your mic and just fire off those questions. And I'm happy to answer your questions for you. Zach.
The grading. If we like to get an A, do we basically just have to participate, make a sculpture, do our best, and be here all the time? Or like, is there more to it than that?
Yeah, I do like participation. You know, trying to show up for every class would be great. If people are working or have other issues and they can't come to class or attend the class electronically, you can always look at the recording on YouTube. And if I can tell through the evidence of your sculpture that you put a lot of time and effort into the piece, then that's fine, that's great. And I have to, you know, grade you guys on a sliding scale, because someone who has never sculpted before is going to get a slightly different quality of outcome than someone who has a lot of artistic experience and a lot of artistic ability. But sweat equity does matter. And so if you're working on the piece and you're serious about it, you put in the time, yes, you can definitely get an A in the class. Hunter.
Yeah, I was wondering when we would get our kit, the wax kit, all the stuff. If you
That's a
know.
hell of a good question. I am assembling that stuff. I'm ordering stuff from Amazon. I'm trying to order little clamp-on lights with little tiny small reflectors on them. I went shopping for light bulbs today because I put a light bulb into this little clamp-on light and clamp it onto the side of a box so that you can actually turn on a little incandescent light bulb and have the warmth of the light bulb come down on the wax to warm the wax so that you can pick up warm wax and sculpt with it easily. Do you know that there's no such thing as an incandescent light bulb anymore, that everything is LED now? Oh my God. So what I'm going to have to, I have to go through my own house and replace all of my light bulbs that are still incandescent bulbs with LEDs, so I can bring 60-watt bulbs in here to give you guys an actual old-fashioned light bulb so that you can use it to warm your wax. Because I really like to have a box full of wax with a light bulb shining down on it to gently warm it up so that I can work with it. The wax is really interesting stuff, and I really wasn't going to get into wax tonight, but I can tell you a little bit about it. At room temperature, 65 degrees, the wax is quite solid, and so it can stand up all by itself. You know, even for something like this is one of my later sculptures. This is something that I did maybe 10 years ago. So this was sculpted in wax first, and then it was pushed through the bronze casting process. And so it can support its own weight. It's quite stiff and strong as a working material when it is at room temperature. When it is heated up to about body temperature, about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, it's wonderful malleable stuff that's like soft, moist water clay, and so that you can model with it and you can sculpt with it, and it's wonderful stuff. The wax melts at about 160 degrees Fahrenheit. And then as it cools off and it becomes slushy again, it has a slush point around 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And so that's the range of working temperatures that we have with the wax. At room temperature, it can be quite a solid thing that you can sculpt on and scrape on and work on as a very resilient thing that's kind of like a plastic to sculpt on in plastic. When it's warmed up, it can be modeled with your fingertips, which is really kind of cool. In the kits I'm putting together, I'm also putting in a very expensive wax sculpting tool that I'm ordering from Sculpture House in New York City. They're $20 a piece. I want them back at the end of the quarter. You do not get to keep these. Not only do you have to pay for your bronze at the end of the quarter, but I have to get all of these little kits, these tool kits back, including the sculpting tool, the hand-forged sculpting tool. But the hand-forged sculpting tool allows me to scrape and refine surfaces of the wax at room temperature, at 65 degrees room temperature, and be able to smooth things, because smooth is a texture, right, Paula? Okay, so that's what we do. I will be building the kits and putting together. I may not even have them ready to go by Wednesday. So this week is a week of contemplation for you guys. I want you to think about what thing you might possibly want to make as a sculpture, because I'm not assigning widgets for the whole class and everybody has to make the same kind of widget. Not in this class. In this class, you get to be the author of your own destiny. You get to decide what it is that satisfies your creativity and make that thing yourself. That's why I want you to do Google image searches. I did a thing for small bronze sculpture, was the image search that I showed you there. If you do something that was small bronze sculpture nudes, it would show you all figurative stuff that was all nudes. If you did small bronze sculpture sports, it would show you all sporting stuff. If you made it even finer, more specific, like baseball bronze sculpture, it would show you all baseball players and baseball oriented sculpture. So depending on what you're interested in and the search terms that you use, Google will guide you towards imagery that you could look at and see what kinds of things are interesting to you. I came to art through being an art major. I took art history classes. My parents had art books on the coffee table when I was growing up. So I was looking at a lot of the artifacts of ancient Rome, ancient Egypt, ancient Greece. And so I was used to seeing figurative work. I was used to seeing bronze sculptures, and I was used to seeing ancient stuff, ancient figurative stuff. And so my contemporary imagery is influenced a lot by what I saw as a kid. I didn't go to a lot of museums or galleries when I was a kid, but I did have that stuff kind of, on the coffee table and in the zeitgeist, in the background, in the air that I was breathing. So that's kind of how I gravitated towards becoming a sculptor and an artist. Hunter, do you have another question for me?
No, thank you.
Oh, okay. PC says maybe a heat lamp from the feed store. Good idea. If they have small heat lamps, that would be great. The heat lamps, you have to work on keeping them the right distance apart, because if you get too close to the wax with the heat lamp, it's just going to become a puddle of molten wax in the bottom of your box. So I will check into that, though. I will look if they had something that was small. I know you're trying to keep your chicks warm. You're trying to keep the eggs, warm and everything, and then your little chick hatchlings warm. But I don't know if a heat lamp might be too much. I'll have to look into that. But thanks, that's a good idea. So I'm going to put together these kits for you guys, and when I can figure that out, I'll ask you to come over here and pick stuff up. Maybe by tomorrow or Wednesday, all I'm going to be able to do is put together little kits that have the wax in them and a few wax working tools, and invite you guys to come over and pick those up so that you can start with wax like that. What I do if I have nothing else to heat the wax with is that I have poured the wax out into sheets of wax that are a quarter of an inch thick, and the sheets of wax are about the size of a piece of computer paper. So you get a sheet of wax about this big, and it's going to be about a quarter of an inch thick. So I can tear that into pieces, and I can put a piece underneath my armpit, and I can put another piece under my other armpit, and I can sit on another piece, and I can bring it up to body temperature with my body heat. And then I can warm them in my hands, and I can start to model with the stuff. And I can make a small critter, a small something cute, and that's what I'm going to start to demonstrate on Wednesday night. So I want you guys to be thinking about what you might want to sculpt, And you can take a week to do that. Do some research, do some thinking and reflecting about what it is that might be interesting to you as an artistic expression in bronze. And in the meantime, I'm going to do some little demonstrations and some other videos and stuff. It's I've been talking for 50 minutes, and I'm going to call it a night. Since we are not together, this is going to suffice for our first class together. We're going to meet again on Wednesday night, same time, 6 o'clock. If you can't make it, I understand, and just try to look at the YouTube videos. I will post YouTube videos links at the My Laker link e-learning shell just as soon as they give us one for ART244, and that will be coming. That we won't be without one for very much longer. So for now, let's just think about this. And oh, you're coming in tomorrow. Okay. So Paula, I've got sculpture class in the afternoon at 1 o'clock. So if you could come around noon, that would be great.
It could be either tomorrow or Wednesday. I have to bring my dog in for a shot, and he has to go to Hanson's, and they don't take appointments. So
okay,
he just needs to get one pretty soon.
Okay, my office hour every day is Monday, or is 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock for office hour. So either Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll be here in case you wanted to talk to me. I don't know whether I'll have the kits put together yet, but I'll just try to throw something together for you since you are in Reedsport and you're coming down to Coos Bay for that thing. I will put one together definitely for you. I'll get everybody else's kits together in the next day or two. Okay.
I'll check in on the email before I come in too.
That sounds great. Let's call it a night for tonight. Thank you all for coming. Now that you know what you're up against and what you're into for the next 10 weeks, you can decide whether you want to continue with this class or drop this class. But it will be exciting, and it'll be something that you've never done before, and it'll be wonderful when we get the bronze castings done at the end of the quarter. So having said all that, I'm going to say good night for now, and I'll see you guys again on Wednesday. Yes, goodbye, everybody. So long.
Toodles.